Welcome to Mark's British Airways Fleet Update, looking at short and long-haul fleets.
It's time for another British Airways fleet update from Mark's Plane, Trains, Trams channel. We'll look at some aircraft movements on the short-haul fleet, then we look at the long-haul fleet. Substantial changes to a 380 fleet utilization, new deliveries, and progress being made with Club Suites fitment. Let's hand over to Mark and get up to date.
Thanks so much, and great to be able to bring you another update on the British Airways fleet. Well, let's just have a quick look at some of the issues that are around with the Airbus A320 fleet. Well, we talked last time we did an update about Golf Echo Uniform Papa Zulu, which is one of the British Airways A319s, and it had flown down to Newquay from London Heathrow. There was some speculation that that aircraft was going to be parted out and scrapped, but it was purely speculation, and actually the aircraft went down for some maintenance. It flew back this Friday and has entered service Friday evening from London Heathrow out to Belfast, and now back as an active member of the British Airways short-haul fleet. So that's good to see. One of the newer aircraft that's joined the British Airways A320 fleet is Golf Tango Tango November X-Ray. And again, we gave an update last time we put one of these messages together, and we outlined how that aircraft had run into damage at Edinburgh Airport, where a jetty that was being positioned had smashed into the side of the aircraft. After quite a lot of consideration and examination, British Airways decided the aircraft was fit for a short flight at low altitude across to Prestwick, south of Glasgow, and repair work is underway right down there now. Two other Airbus A319s, Golf Echo Uniform Oscar Golf and Golf Delta Bravo Charlie Juliet, both at Glasgow, receiving maintenance at the moment at the British Airways facility at Glasgow, which of course is where they do a lot of work on the 319, 320 and 321 fleet. So there's an update on a few matters related to the short-haul fleet. Probably more interest generally in the long-haul fleet, so let's move across there. We'll talk about the Airbus fleet in long-haul at British Airways first, and it's pleasing to see some stability in the A380 fleet. Yeah, they've still had some problems, but generally things seem to have settled down a little bit. Probably the biggest development on the A380 fleet is the transition from the summer to the winter timetable that is going to see quite a bit of change actually in how the A380 fleet of British Airways is used, and also introduces a little bit more slack into the schedules, a little bit more contingency, hopefully more ability within British Airways to cope when things go wrong. But what you're going to see from next week is Washington Dulles and Dallas Fort Worth both losing their regular Airbus A380 flights, and also Boston clings on for Monday and Tuesday, but from the 30th of October, Boston loses its A380 operation. From this Sunday, the Miami route with British Airways is a double A380 operation, so two A380s a day from London to Miami. That's potentially not a surprise. The leisure business at Miami is quite strong, quite large volumes available to British Airways for passengers travelling to Miami to be aboard cruise ships. You're probably aware that Miami has the biggest cruise ship terminal in North America. And as in previous years, the London Heathrow to Dubai route, as it gets into peak season in Dubai, that picks up an Airbus A380 operation from Wednesday, the 30th of October. Now, this schedule requires 9 A380s instead of the current 10. So just to summarize, then you'll see an A380 operating Los Angeles, San Francisco, Dubai, one aircraft on each of those routes, two aircraft doing the double Miami rotation, and then Johannesburg and Singapore, which have daily A380 flights, but the length of the flight and the duration of the turnaround at both Johannesburg and Singapore means they need 2 aircraft on each of those operations. And of course, as a reminder, one of the aircraft is out of operation in Manila on its planned maintenance, so gives British Airways 11 aircraft to pick up those 9 rotations. Hopefully that will result in a more reliable, a more consistent operation. There's not much to report on British Airways A350 fleet. I would imagine British Airways is quite relieved about that, to have a fleet that has no requirements for overhaul at this stage, no requirements for cabin refit, that is generally operating reliably, although the aircraft did have to go through an additional examination of their Rolls-Royce engines that appears not to have caused too much disruption for British Airways. So let's move on and have a look at the 777 fleet. Well, pleasingly, British Airways were able to complete the work on the last of its 777-300s that was having club suite fitment. That was Golf Sierra Tango Bravo Bravo. That aircraft left Cardiff on the 20th of October on BA 9175, flew to London Heathrow. And as is often the case, the aircraft are prepared in Cardiff, ready to go straight into service. So there's no faffing about at Heathrow, no getting dragged over to the maintenance area to be examined. The aircraft do go straight into service. And it was the BA 239 to Boston that Bravo Bravo was allocated. The significance of this, of course, is that it means all of the British Airways 777-300s are fitted now with the club suites, which brings consistency and an ease of operation to that fleet. Also making a good step forward was the movement of Golf Victor India Victor, which is one of the 777-200s that had originally been outlined for operation from Gatwick, one of 3 aircraft that retained its first class alongside club seats in the old format, but had the new World Traveller Plus and the 10 abreast World Traveller cabins installed. But British Airways reappraised its operations, decided that the aircraft should operate from London Heathrow, and sister ships which end in Whiskey and Yankee are in a similar position. Those aircraft have spent quite a bit of time recently flying London Heathrow to Atlanta, to Nassau, to Chicago, O'Hare and Dubai, and also Bahrain. But only 2 of them left in that format now, as India Victor has headed off to Cardiff for its fitment. One would hope that's a relatively easy project compared to some of the other aircraft, because the economy class cabins have already received the treatment they need, and one would hope that can proceed relatively quickly. And what I would expect to see over the next few weeks is the other 2 aircraft following their sister ship down to Cardiff, one at a time. Also worth noting that Bravo Golf, one of the 777-300s, is in Taipei. It's been there since the 23rd of September, undergoing maintenance with club suites fitment and some of the issues with Rolls-Royce engines. The British Airways capability at Cardiff and at Heathrow is pretty much maxed out. Let's move across and have a look at the 787 fleet. And we talked last time about how this was one of the most significant areas of activity around the British Airways fleet. I gave an update on how Kuala Lumpur flights had been removed from the schedules until next April. I also talked about reductions in frequency on the Doha route, and JFK from Gatwick suspended until next spring. But there's also reductions in frequency from London Heathrow to Mumbai, to Baltimore, to Boston, to Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, and to Santiago in Chile, all designed to create scope in the fleet to cope with having 787s out of service with Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 engine issues. British Airways has said it's disappointed that it's had to make further changes in the schedule as they continue to experience delays to the delivery of engines and parts from Rolls-Royce. Mainly around that Rolls-Royce Trent 1000. Worth just looking at some of the individual aircraft developments around the 787 fleet. Positively, Golf Zulu Bravo, Juliet Bravo, which is one of the 787-8s that's been having club suites fitted. That aircraft was released on the 21st of October from Cardiff, flew back to Heathrow and entered traffic the next day on the 22nd of October, operating the BA95 across to Montreal. But also worth noting the 787-8 Juliet Echo has been out of use since the 10th of July, so quite a long time parked up down at Cardiff, and one wonders whether that might be one of the next aircraft to receive club suites, although it had been intended for the aircraft to be progressed in fleet order. The rest of the 787-8 fleet generally behaving itself. It does appear to be the 787-9s where most of the problem is, and there are currently 4 aircraft that are out of use, all believed to be associated with issues around the Rolls-Royce engines. Kilo Echo out of use at London Heathrow since the 20th of October. Kilo Foxtrot out of use at Cardiff since the 9th of October, although that aircraft has been allocated work to Singapore on Saturday, the 26th of October. So one potentially expects to see that aircraft flying back to London Heathrow. Kilo Mike out of use at London Heathrow since the 13th of October, and a long-term stopped aircraft, Kilo Oscar, out of use since the 25th of June. There's one 787-10 Lima Delta out of use at London Heathrow for 4 weeks since the 23rd of September. And on the subject of 787-10s, worth just reflecting on the fact that British Airways has received delivery of another 787-10, which is Golf Zulu Bravo Lima Kilo. That aircraft flew across earlier this week from Charleston in Carolina, and is due to enter service on the evening of Saturday, the 26th of October. We understand the next and final aircraft of this batch, which is Golf Zulu Bravo Lima, is pretty much complete and has been rolled out of the factory at Charleston. That aircraft's got to undergo various tests, so probably be several weeks before it's made available to British Airways. Now, I said that was the last of this batch. It is the last of the batch fitted with the Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 engines. As many of you may be aware, British Airways has ordered another 6 787-10s, but they're going to come to BA fitted with General Electric engines, which is perhaps not a surprise when you see how much difficulty BA is currently experiencing with its Rolls-Royce engines, and clearly the relationship between BA and Rolls-Royce under quite a bit of pressure. Well, I've talked about the schedule changes we're going to see in the next few days with the Airbus A380 fleet. Of course, there's other schedule changes around that with aircraft like 777-300s taking over the Dallas route. We'll perhaps pick up on some of those in a forthcoming update. That concludes this British Airways fleet update. I hope you found it useful. Hope you find it interesting just to hear a little bit about what's happening with the British Airways fleet. I'll be gathering a few facts and developments over the next few days, and I'll bring you another British Airways fleet update very shortly.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and click the notification button so you don't miss any of the great trips Mark has coming your way on this YouTube channel.